What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and Happy New Year. This is the first video on this channel of 2023. I'm back in Chattanooga, Tennessee in the shop after a long road to New Hampshire and New York for the holidays to see family. So now that I'm back, I'm trying to get back to it. Currently making some leather key rings for BC Forged. I've been making some products for them for the last few years, so glad to be starting the new year off with some work coming in the shop. Those are leather key rings, so that's what I'm working on in that corner of the shop, but really wanted to get something filmed today. The last episode that I filmed here in the shop, you guys saw me shorten the Beetle pan down by 2 inches. I took it out of the tunnel head here at the front so I didn't have to mess with anything from the pedal box back. I wouldn't have to worry about shortening my shift rod, cables. I wouldn't have to worry about shortening any of that stuff, simply because I was only going by 2 inches. I do need my pedal box to come back for where I'm going to be sitting in the auto union, so I have to address that at some point. But to only go 2 inches, it wasn't worth trying to bring everything back by shortening it behind the e-brake handle. So I do need to finish welding this up before I get it off the lift. I didn't weld up the plate on either side of the tunnel. I just got the tunnel done. All right, so I got a couple pieces of plate cut and then kind of trimmed to fit in the spaces that they needed to go. This is 3/16 thick plate that I had laying around. It's about 3¼ inches wide, and that's why I use this plate instead of some 3/16 I had in about 1.5 inches wide, because I really wanted to bridge that gap more. The whole weight of the car is pushing down on the front wheels, and that is ahead of my cut where I separated the pan. But this was certainly key. I did obviously do the pan head in the last episode when I worked on this, but getting these pieces of plate in underneath is definitely vital for the structural integrity of the front of this car, especially for shock load. When you're driving down the road, whether or not it's a pothole or a bridge expansion joint at highway speeds. So I'm trying to make sure that this is overbuilt so nothing comes apart while I'm going down the road. All right, well, I got the 2 plates underneath welded in. There's a few bead roll dimples in the Beetle pan itself that I thought about cutting slits in and then hammering flat. But I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna silicone those shut. I'm actually gonna like seal up around all the welds, since this is the underneath of the car, this is outside the car, and it's gonna see everything between this and the road. So especially if I'm driving in the water, or heaven forbid any sort of salt. Between the 2 plates on the tunnel, I think I'm gonna seal that as well. Since the tunnel up top has the plug welded bridge, that's all solid welded. These plates are 3/16 thick. And almost fully welded all the way across. I probably went overkill. All right, so I just finished welded up the top part of the pan where the 2 floor pieces essentially meet together. I ran a small disc down through the seam. That way I could get down to the plate from the top side. So I just wasn't welding the 2 top pieces together, but I was welding all 3, the 2 top pieces as well as the plate that I welded from up underneath. Everything else, like I mentioned on the bottom, I'm gonna end up sealing up. It's welded well, I'm happy with it. So everything else will just be paint and sealant from there. I'll do that at another time. One more thing I wanna do in this episode is get the pan down, get wheels back on it, and get the body back up on the lift so I can roll the pan under it and mate them back up again, since I haven't done that since I shortened the pan. Normally that would have been one episode, but the tunnel, shortening everything initially was the day before I left for Christmas holiday. So here we are finishing it, and I'd like to pair it up to the body because I haven't seen the 2 together with the correct wheelbase. The floor pans in the body haven't been fully cut away yet. If you remember from those episodes, I was taking little by little because I didn't want to shoot myself in the foot and take too much out of there, and ultimately wished I'd kept some. So now that I've gone this far, I basically know I need to cut everything out. So the body isn't ready to go down over the pan to where the floor pan levels will meet up basically, but we'll get pretty close and get an idea of to what else needs to get cut out. Time for that mid-afternoon coffee run. So it's nice enough out to take the Corvair, and since getting back from single-digit weather in New Hampshire for Christmas, I think it's a celebratory drive in the Corvair that I moved somewhere where I can do this in January. Those of you who don't know, my father and I built this car. Late model Corvair, 2-inch roof chop. Essentially body dropped it with the cross members. Basically raised the rear spring perches up into the body in the rear. And then in the front, we custom built a new cross member with custom lower control arms and upper control arms, tension rods, all that sort of stuff. So the car weighs floor pan, and we got a 2-inch roof chop. So one of my favorite cars. I've had it the longest I've ever owned any car. So far, it's a not for sale on the list. I know I refer to New Hampshire as home because that's what it is and that's what it'll always be. But living in Chattanooga for the second winter now, although it does get cold here, man, it's so nice being able to go out in a sweatshirt in one of your summer cars at the beginning of January. this is the overall vibe for the Auto Union. Panned out, on air, as low as it can possibly go. Vintage motorsport wheels, more than likely. Would love to do a vintage German motorsport wheel, since it's a German body on a German Beetle pan. Would only be fitting to do German wheels. But this is the overall idea. I'm not going to chop the roof on that car like we did on the Corvair. Well, an uneventful trip out for coffee, and that's always good in these old bones. Luckily, there's a Dunkin' and a Starbucks basically within a mile or two from my house, so makes for quick runs out, pretty easy in the afternoon. All right, so after what has seemed like forever, the 1000 SP body's back up on the lift. Kind of did some moving around, got the pan outside so I could get the body turned around and up on the lift. Body doesn't have enough cut out of it yet to set it down over the pan where it needs to be. But now that I know that I basically have to get rid of everything 1000 SP for the floors, both because of clearancing and because of rot. There's a lot of rot in this body. If you guys remember when I started cutting this out, I discovered a ton of rot along the sills, rockers, firewall, front and rear, inside the inner fender wells, front body mounts, because this is a frame car. There's a lot that has to get cut out because of those two main reasons. So this is as far down as I can take the body without taking the wheels off the pan, since the rear wheels have the balloon tires that the Beetle basically came on. And with the aggressive positive camber, without any weight in the back, it's hitting some parts of the inner wheel wells that I haven't cut out yet. But even from this far up, it's clear that this pan is better fit to the wheelbase of this body. Before, when I had it set down, you could tell that if I had the rear wheels centered in the rear wheel well, the front was just so far forward in the front wheel wells. So this looks exactly where it needs to be, even with it this far away. Pretty happy with the fact that this is now basically ready to be mated up. Just got a lot of cutting, a lot of design and fabrication yet to go. Again, I wish this was the easy route, but once I'm on the road with this car and all I have to do is buy Volkswagen Beetle parts, which they sell and remanufacture, I'll be really happy that I went this route. It'll be really nice to be able to just buy parts for this thing, keep it on the road, and not have to hoard all of this Auto Union stuff in order to just hopefully keep it on the road in hopes that I save the right parts or even have them in the first place. Well, I'm gonna end the video there. I really didn't want to put out a whole nother episode of just finishing up the front end of the pan and shortening it down, but this is where we're at. It's just another episode of getting this thing one step closer to being done. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. The Patreon link is in the video's description below if you guys want to help support the channel and some of the projects here in the shop. Aside from trying to get back on the Ludwick's podcast episodes weekly, I am hoping to do a monthly Patreon exclusive podcast. So a huge thank you to all of you guys who are already over there on the Patreon. I'm really looking forward to growing that community with you guys this upcoming year. Also, remember to use the code Ludwicks at bagriders.com at checkout to save on everything you guys need for your air suspension parts in your project. I'll see you guys in the next episode.